Konnichiwa minasan, o genki desu ka? Welcome to the intermediate course of my channel. Let's learn Japanese with Eric. If you have minimal background in the Japanese language or have limited knowledge of Japanese particles, adjective, and basic verb conjugation, or how Japanese sentences are put together, please review the playlist of the basic course, which covers lessons 1 to 31, and watch the video you need makeup lessons on. Otherwise, let's begin. Hajimemashou. In this lesson, you'll add to your noun vocabulary by converting many common verbs to noun counterparts that mean things. So nouns like food, drinks, or reading materials are all derived from their verbs. Food is derived from the verb to eat. Drinks is derived from the verb to drink. And reading materials is derived from the verb to read. The formula for this is to take the conjunctive form of the verb and add the suffix mono, which means a physical thing. In our previous lesson on nominalization, we learned that koto also means thing, but the kind of thing that is abstract, an idea. For this lesson, we cannot substitute koto and must use mono to mean things. Now, conjunctive plus mono doesn't work for all the verbs, but it does for many. We'll try to tackle most of them in this lesson. If you recall the 10 basic verb conjugations, the conjugation we use for things is the conjunctive form of the verb, as you see here. As in our past lessons, let's do a quick review of how to make this. To make the conjunctive form of root-dropping verbs from the mas form, simply drop the mas. What's left is the conjunctive form. For example, tabemas yields tabe. Conjunctive form of yomimasu is yomi. And the conjunctive form of tsukaimasu is tsukai. There are 3 major categories of Japanese verbs. The Category 1 or root-dropping verbs, Category 2 or last hiragana changing verbs, and Category 3 or the irregular verbs. For a more detailed explanation of how to form the basic verb conjugations, please review lessons 26 to 30. We will also be using verbs introduced in these lessons in our examples here. If you want to know more about basic Japanese sentence construction, please review lessons 22 to 24, all in our English playlist. However, if you start off from the dictionary forms, you need to remember a few things. Depending on the category of the verb. If it's a Category 1 verb, simply drop the ru, and what's left is the conjunctive form. For example, the verb taberu, which means to eat. Drop the ru, what's left is tabe, and that's the conjunctive form. For Category 2 verbs, or the last hiragana changing verbs, the last hiragana of the dictionary form is changed to the I series. And these are the 9 kinds of endings: kugusu, bumunu, ru-tsu-u. To make the conjunctive form, ku becomes ki, gu becomes gi, su becomes shi, bu to be, mu to me, nu to ni, ru turns to ri, tsu changes to chi, and u turns to e. For conjugating Category 2 verbs, it's the verb ending you need to pay attention to, and you change them into the I series. As for the Category 3 or 5 commonly used irregular verbs, none of them can form nouns, so we can forget about them. Let's look at some examples for each verb category and then try to learn as many of these mono conjugations as you can. Our first example is the verb taberu, which is a Category 1 verb. It means to eat. Drop the ru forms tabe, which is the conjunctive, and adding mono, we form tabemono, which means food. And using it in a sentence, what kind of food do you like? In Japanese, anata wa donna tabemono ga suki desu ka? Anata wa donna tabemono ga suki desu ka? Now let's look at Category 2 verbs. Our first verb is kaku, which means to write. Changing the ku to ki, we form the conjunctive kaki. Adding mono to it, we get kakimono. Kakimono, which means writing materials, such as pencil, pen, crayon, marker, and so on. And using it in a sentence, please use your own writing materials. In Japanese, 自分の書き物を使ってください。自分の書き物を使ってください。To the best of my knowledge, there is no gu ending verb which forms a noun with mono. For a su ending verb, let's look at otosu, which means to drop. The su ending changes to shi to form otoshi as the conjunctive. Adding mono, we form otoshimono, otoshimono, which means lost items. Our sentence, the office is keeping lost items. In Japanese, 事務所は落とし物を預かっています。事務所は落とし物を預かっています。For a bu ending verb, we have yobu, which means to call. Changing the bu to be gives us the conjunctive, which is yobi, and adding mono, we form yobimono, yobimono, which means an attraction. Attractions call people to come, so that is what yobimono means. And our sample sentence, Disneyland has many attractions. In Japanese, ディズニーランドは呼び物がたくさんある。ディズニーランドは呼び物がたくさんある。For a mu ending verb, let's use nomu, which means to drink. Changing the mu to mi, we form nomi, which is our conjunctive. Then adding mono, we form nomimono, nomimono, which means drinks. Drinks can mean water, pop, soda, coffee, juice, wine, liquor, and so on. And our sample sentence, what kind of drink would you like? In Japanese, どんな飲み物が好きですか? どんな飲み物が好きですか? Now there's only one verb in the whole Japanese language that ends in nu, and that is shinu, which means to die. It does not form a word with mono. For our ru ending verb, let's use noru, which means to ride. Changing the ru to ri, we form nori, which is the conjunctive. And adding mono to it, we form norimono, norimono, which means vehicles. And using it in a sentence, there are various vehicles that go to the airport. In Japanese, 空港へ行く乗り物はいろいろあります。空港へ行く乗り物はいろいろあります。For tsu ending, we have motsu, which means to own. Changing tsu to chi forms the conjunctive, mochi. And adding mono, we form mochimono, mochimono, which means personal effects. Personal effects are things one typically has in his or her bag, such as wallet, keys, cell phone. Our sentence, you may put your personal effects in the bag. In Japanese, 持ち物をカバンの中に入れてもいいです。持ち物をカバンの中に入れてもいいです。For our u ending verb, let's use 買う, which means to buy. Changing the u to i gives us kai, which is the conjunctive form. Adding mono, we get kaimono, kaimono, which means shopping. Our sample sentence, shopping at the Ginza is fun. Shopping needs to be nominalized here. And in Japanese, we say, 銀座で買い物するのは楽しいです。銀座で買い物するのは楽しいです。If you'd like to review nominalizing verbs using no and koto, please see the lesson before this, lesson 44. Now let's look at additional things that are formed from category 1 verbs. To fry is ageru, and agemono, agemono are fried foods such as satsumaage, which is deep-fried fish cakes, and tempura. Ikiru means to live, to be alive, and ikimono, ikimono means living things. Ikimono can also mean seafood sold at the supermarket that is so fresh it can be prepared for sashimi. To put in is ireru, and Iremono. Iremono means container. Kangaeru means to think. Kangaemono. Kangaemono means puzzle or quiz, something to think about. Here you see a Sudoku puzzle. Kariru means to borrow. Karimono. Karimono means a borrowed thing or a rental. Here you see books borrowed from the library. They're karimono. Kiru means to wear clothes. Kimono. Kimono used to mean clothes in general, but now kimono means the traditional Japanese clothing. Miru means to see. Mimono. Mimono means a spectacle, a sight, or object of interest, attraction, feature, or highlight. Here you see firecrackers, which could be the mimono of a festival. Miseru means to show. Misemono. Misemono means exhibit or display. Here you say display booths at a trade show. Nageru means to throw. Nagemono. Nagemono means liquidated goods to be disposed of at a cut rate price, such as when a store closes. It can also mean liquidated shares of stock. Tateru means to build, and tabemono. Tabemono means buildings. And of course, we had this earlier. Taberu means to eat, and tabemono. Tabemono means food. Here we have sashimi, oden, and wagyu steak. Oishii desu ne. Wareru means to break. Waremono. Waremono means fragile items or breakable items. Ceramics and items made of glass are often labeled waremono when shipping in Japan. Wasureru means to forget. Wasuremono. Wasuremono means forgotten items or something left behind. Here you see a sign posted inside trains in Japan. Owasuremono ni gochūi kudasai, reminding people not to forget personal items like umbrellas, phones, or bags when they leave the train. Now we move to Category 2 verbs, last hiragana changing verbs. Remember, the last hiragana changes to the I series to form the conjunctive. Then we add mono. We had this example earlier. Kaku means to write, and kakimono. Kakimono means writing materials, and that includes pens, pencils, markers, and so on. Haku means to wear, and hakimono. Hakimono means footgear, which includes shoes, boots, clogs, sandals, slippers, and so on. Kiku means to listen or hear, and kikimono. Kikimono means something that's worth hearing. For example, news or gossip. Maku means to roll, and makimono. Makimono means a rolled book or rolled drapery. Oku means to put, and okimono. Okimono means a figurine or an alcove ornament. It can also mean figurehead or someone in a high position but has really no power. Tsuku means to be attached. Tsukimono. Tsukimono means an accessory. For example, a selfie stick is a common tsukimono for your cell phone when taking pictures. Yaku means to bake, and yakimono. Yakimono means pottery or ceramics. Here you see some traditional Japanese ceramics or yakimono. Dasu means to take out. Dashimono. Dashimono can mean play or performance piece. It can also mean a bill or program that one gets when watching a play. It can also mean pièce de résistance. Hosu means to dry, and hoshimono. Hoshimono means dried foods such as dried fish, dried squid, jerky. It can also mean laundry that you'll hang out to dry. Otosu means to drop. Otoshimono. Otoshimono means a thing dropped by mistake, lost property or lost things. Here you see a wallet dropped on the road, an otoshimono. Yobu means to call, and yobimono. Yobimono is an attraction, a special feature, an inducement, a draw to catch the audience or customer's attention. Now this is a float from the Aomori Nebuta Festival, which is held in Aomori Prefecture in the summer. The floats feature warrior figures and are brilliantly illuminated at night. A very beautiful sight. We had this earlier. Nomu means to drink, and nomimono. Nomimono means drinks. Coffee, tea, water, juice, and so on. Yomu means to read, and yomimono means reading materials such as books, magazines, and things that you generally find at a bookstore. Nokoru means to be left behind, and norimono means leftovers, usually leftover food that, for example, you see here. Noru means to ride, and norimono means vehicles such as cars, trucks, bicycles, motorbikes, planes, ships, trains, and so on. Noru means to paint, and norimono means lacquerware, which is highly prized in Japan. Oru means to weave, and orimono means textiles. Tsukuru means to make. Tsukurimono means man-made things or artificial products, decorations, a sham or imitation. Here you see an artificial orchid, which is a tsukurimono. Uru means to sell, and urimono means merchandise or things that are for sale. And we had this earlier too. Motsu means to own, and mochimono means personal effects. Here you see typical things a person would have in their carry-on luggage. Utsu means to hit, and uchimono means weapons. Arau means to wash, and araimono means things to wash, such as dirty plates or laundry. Hiro means to pick up, and hiroimono means something you find and pick up on the street. It can also mean something valuable that comes to you easily, such as winning the lottery. Morau means to receive, and moraimono means a gift that's received. Now you can contrast this to okurimono, which is a gift to be given. Moraimono means a gift to be received. Su means to suck or inhale, and suimono is a thin, clear soup, such as this that you see here. This is in contrast to miso soup, which is cloudy. Tsukao means to use, and tsukaimono means a thing that is useful. I think a cookware set is a good tsukaimono, especially when you first move to an apartment. Tsukaimono can also mean a present or gift. Warau means to laugh, and waraimono is a laughing stock or someone or something that people laugh at. For example, here's Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. The other reindeers laughed at him until he became Santa's special reindeer, and he was no longer a waraimono. So those are most of the mono nouns you're most likely to encounter in daily life in Japan. So again, the formula for forming these nouns is to take the conjunctive form of the verb and attach mono, which means a physical thing. Now this doesn't work for all verbs, but it does for many, like the ones we tackled here. So that ends our lesson on mono, or things. See you next time. Ja, mata ne. If you're serious about becoming fluent in Japanese, it's important to practice daily, learn grammar, and build up vocabulary. My whole course is designed to give you a strong basic foundation in the Japanese language that you can build solidly on. So please click like, share, or subscribe, and watch the next video in the series. Nihongo no benkyou ni ganbatte kudasai. Ja, mata ne.